There is a blockbuster trade idea circulating that would swap Max Crosby for a Pro Bowl defensive tackle, and I want to explain exactly why this front office should not come anywhere near that deal. Tom Brady is personally molding Fernando Mendoza behind the scenes, and what the rookie said about that relationship tells you everything about the mentality being built in this locker room. The window to get something for Aidan O'Connell is closing fast, and this front office has a decision to make before it disappears entirely. And Jonah Laulu is entering year 3 with real expectations on his shoulders for the first time in his Raiders career. Stay here with me, Raider Nation. Let's get into the news. The Las Vegas Raiders have something that no other team in this league has, and Tom Brady is a big part of why. Because the greatest quarterback in NFL history is not just a minority owner sitting in a luxury box watching games. He is actively involved in the development of Fernando Mendoza, and what Mendoza said publicly about those conversations should make every single person in Raider Nation feel genuinely good about what is being built here. Mendoza revealed what Brady told him about what it takes to be a franchise quarterback, and the message was not about footwork or reading coverages or pre-snap alignments. It was about identity. Brady told him that as a quarterback, you need to be the most everything. You need to be the most competitive. You need to be the most leader. You need to be the toughest, both mentally and physically. And you have to embody all of those things and lead by example before you can earn the equity and respect from your teammates that allows you to lead effectively. Let that sink in for a second. Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl championships, the most decorated quarterback this sport has ever seen, sat down with a rookie and gave him the exact same message that defined his own career from the moment he arrived in New England. Not the X's and O's, not the technical details, the identity, the standard. The mentality that separates quarterbacks who win games from quarterbacks who win championships. And Mendoza absorbed it. He did not just nod and move on. He repeated it back to reporters word for word with the kind of conviction that tells you he actually believes every single part of it. Now, I want to be real about what this actually means and what it does not mean. Brady being involved with Mendoza is not a guarantee of anything. Great mentors do not automatically produce great players. The work still has to be done between the white lines when the games count. But here is what this connection does provide that money cannot buy, and no other franchise can replicate. Mendoza grew up idolizing Brady. That is not a media narrative. That is something Mendoza has said himself. When your favorite player becomes the person who calls you up and tells you what it actually takes to win at this level, the mentorship lands differently than it does from anyone else. The Raiders have the right head coach, the right system, and the right quarterback at the center of this rebuild. And now they have the greatest winner in football history personally invested in making sure the rookie gets it right. That is not nothing. That is everything. There is a decision this front office needs to make before the window closes, and it involves Aidan O'Connell, because the Athletic's Sam Warren laid out the situation clearly, and honestly this week, and the conclusion is hard to argue with. Trading O'Connell now definitely makes sense. He is entering the last year of his rookie contract. His goal is to be a long-time starter in the NFL, which is not going to happen in Las Vegas with Fernando Mendoza on this roster. And this is the last chance for the Raiders to get something back for him before he likely walks in free agency next offseason, and they get nothing. That is the business reality of this situation, and it is important. But here is where it gets more complicated than a simple trade or keep decision. Warren also noted that John Spytek and the new staff genuinely like O'Connell. And if the plan is to develop Mendoza as slowly as it currently appears, O'Connell gives this team the luxury of not having to call on Mendoza if Kirk Cousins gets injured or plays poorly. That is real insurance for a franchise that cannot afford to rush its most important player before he is ready. So what do you actually do here? I think the honest answer is that this depends entirely on what the market looks like for O'Connell and what kind of offer comes in. If a team calls and offers a meaningful draft pick for a quarterback who has started 17 games and thrown 20 touchdowns to 11 interceptions in his career, you take that call seriously. That is real value for a player who has no long-term path in Las Vegas. But if the market is quiet and the best offer is a late-round pick that does not move the needle, keeping O'Connell as the insurance policy behind Cousins and Mendoza is the right call. Now here is the part of this story that I think gets overlooked. Mendoza talked about his relationship with Cousins this week and said that Kirk is definitely helping him a lot, that Cousins has been in this offense before and already has experience with these plays from actual games, not just practices and scrimmages. He said watching Cousins and having that experience at his side has been so interesting to see. That is a rookie franchise quarterback telling you that the veteran quarterback room around him is actually working the way it was designed to work. And that dynamic makes the O'Connell decision even more important, because if this quarterback room room is already functioning at a high level, the cost of losing O'Connell as insurance is higher than it looks on paper. The blockbuster trade idea that has been circulating this week involves swapping Max Crosby for Jalen Carter, and I want to explain clearly and directly why this front office should not come anywhere near that deal. Sports Radio Whip's Spike Eskin proposed the swap, and on the surface, the logic sounds reasonable. The Raiders have been connected to Crosby trade rumors all offseason. They have a genuine need at defensive tackle. Carter is a two-time Pro Bowler who is only 25 years old. But when you dig deeper than the surface-level argument, the reasons this does not make sense for Las Vegas stack up fast. Start with John Spytek's track record. He has traded back for more picks in both of his drafts with this franchise. That tells you everything about how he views draft capital. Giving up a first-round pick for Carter, which is what it would cost if the Raiders are not trading Crosby, goes directly against the philosophy this GM has demonstrated since arriving in Las Vegas. And the 2027 draft class is being described as one of the best in years, not just for quarterbacks, but for skill position talent that this roster desperately needs. Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, Texas edge rusher Colin Simmons, and Notre Dame cornerback Leonard Moore are all potential top 10 picks if they forego their senior seasons. The Raiders do not have an established number one wide receiver. Crosby will be 30 next year. The cornerback position opposite Eric Stokes is still a question mark. Having a premium pick in a loaded 2027 draft class addresses multiple needs at once. Trading it for Carter addresses one. Now let me address the character concerns directly, because they matter, and people are not talking about them enough. Carter has drawn 7 personal foul or unnecessary roughness penalties in 43 career games. He was ejected for spitting on a quarterback before the first snap of a game. According to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, the Eagles are not eager to sign him to a new deal, and the fact that they are into June without an extension done is telling. Anytime a team is willing to trade a two-time Pro Bowler in his prime, you have to ask why. And in Carter's case, the answer involves real questions about controlled aggression and availability for big games. The Raiders under this new coaching staff have been deliberate about building a high-character locker room. Bringing in a player with Carter's disciplinary history runs directly counter to that effort. Keep Crosby. Keep the pick. Stay the course on the 2027 plan. This is not the move. And I want to close today with a player whose story deserves more attention, and his name is Jonah Laulu, because entering his 3rd season with the Raiders, this defensive lineman is no longer the feel-good waiver wire story that surprised everyone. He is now a player with real expectations on his shoulders, and the ceiling of this entire defense depends in part on whether he rises to meet them. Let me give you the full picture on what Laulu has already done, because I think some people are sleeping on how impressive his 2 seasons have been. He was claimed off waivers from the Indianapolis Colts in 2024 as a former 7th-round pick who did not make his original roster. In 2 seasons with the Raiders, he has posted 86 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, 8 passes defended, and 5 sacks. He started 15 games last season. That is a player who went from waiver wire afterthought to legitimate starter on an NFL defense in under 2 years. And that kind of trajectory does not happen without real talent and real work ethic behind it. Now here is where the story shifts from impressive to demanding. The Raiders are switching to a 3-4 base defense under Rob Leonard, and in that system, the interior defensive linemen carry a different kind of burden than they did in a 4-3. Laulu is going to be relied upon alongside Adam Butler to hold the point of attack against the run, eat blocks, and keep the linebackers clean so Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker can make plays. That is not glamorous work. That is the kind of dirty, physical, unglamorous work that makes everyone else around you better and never shows up in highlight reels. And Leonard has the versatility to use Laulu all across this defensive front, keeping him in the middle on early downs and letting him loose as the 3-4 defensive end on passing downs where his ability to explode off the football and pressure the quarterback is most valuable. But here is the honest challenge. Laulu needs to improve as a run defender. If he is going to play on early downs at the level this defense needs from him, he has to shed blocks more consistently and tackle ball carriers at a higher rate than he has in his first 2 seasons. That is the specific growth this coaching staff needs to see from him in training camp and into the regular season. The Raiders found a diamond in the rough when they claimed him off waivers. Now it is time for that diamond to shine under real pressure. Well, Raider Nation, here is what today actually revealed about where this franchise is heading. Tom Brady is personally invested in Fernando Mendoza becoming everything this fan base needs him to be, and the mentality Mendoza is absorbing from those conversations is the exact same one that built 7 Super Bowl championships. The O'Connell decision is coming, and this front office needs to make it with clear eyes, because the window to get value for him is closing, and the insurance he provides is more valuable than people realize right now. The Jalen Carter trade idea is not the move, and Spytek's track record makes it clear why. Because the 2027 draft class is too loaded, and the character concerns are too real to ignore for a team that has been deliberately building a high-character locker room all off-season. And Jonah Laulu is walking into year 3 as a starter with real expectations on his shoulders for the first time in his career. The foundation of this defense runs through what he does against the run on early downs. Training camp opens in late July. Every single one of these storylines gets its real answer when those pads go on and the competition becomes physical. Raider Nation has earned the right to believe in what is being built here. Drop your take in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives by just win baby and never walked away from the silver and black.